This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado, introducing a book that will lead you into an entertaining, frivolous romp through the colliding worlds of family, friends, football, and food. I'm joined here with the author and publisher, Granny K. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
You're welcome.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You're formally educated at Colorado State University. You have been writing and editing manuscripts for other authors. You now have stepped up and into the next chapter of your career as both an author and as a publisher. So first of all, share with us kind of a glimpse of your writing career prior to launching out on your own.
So first of all, Gary, I have been editing books for 19 years. I have always had a love of writing and words going back to the time when I first knew what a book was. I have had so many people over the course of my editing career ask me, oh, well, surely you've written a book, or when are you going to write a book? One year at Christmas, several years ago, I was at my daughter's house for Christmas, and my 3 red-haired grandsons somehow got on the subject of a murder mystery. And I kind of put that in my memory banks. Well, the following Christmas, I was at my daughter's house again, and the boys got back on the subject of a murder mystery. Well, the following year was the pandemic. And since everyone was telling me that I couldn't go out of my house anyway, I just said to myself, girl, sit down and write the damn book. So I did. Well, then for the following 3 years, I had a huge editing project that I completed. And that project literally took me 3 years. So that took me to 2024. And so in 2024, I finally got the chance to sit down and complete the writing of The Mystery at Evergreen Lake, and edited it and finally published it in January of this year.
Wow. And here we are in 2025. You've had quite a few years of working on different types of things. I mean, you are a lifelong book lover. So can you explain to us why you feel maybe a good old-fashioned murder mystery will always be on the bookshelf?
So, Gary, specifically for me, the reason why I love murder mysteries is because I can never figure out who done it. Like, I'm not one of these readers who, on page 3 starts saying, oh, I bet you that the butler did it with the candlestick. No, I'm the person who has to read the last page. And so that's one of the reasons why why I myself love mysteries. But really, you could give me almost anything. I have a particular fondness for what we used to call autobiographies. Now they're called memoir. But really, you could give me almost anything and I will read it. I have been a voracious reader for my entire life.
That is interesting. I mean, this plot takes place in a small town not far from really where I grew up. So tell us about this actual existing location in Evergreen, Colorado.
Well, I actually grew up in Evergreen when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11. We used to live in Littleton, and my parents used to take us ice skating up to Evergreen Lake. And that was a teeny bit weird to me because I don't like to be cold. So to me, ice skating on Evergreen Lake was not a huge draw. But so we used to go ice skating at Evergreen Lake. And then one day my parents sat us down and said, oh, guess what? We're moving to Evergreen. And, my chin hit the pavement. So my parents had a custom house for us. They bought 2 lots in Evergreen, just up a ways from the high school. And so then I did a lot of ice skating on Evergreen Lake, and that was back when the warming hut was really just this little teeny warming hut. And, you go in and there's thousands of bodies in there. And there was a little skate rental booth, and I think that a person could buy a cup of hot chocolate or whatever. And so when my grandsons got just kind of started talking generally about a murder mystery, my mind went immediately to Evergreen and Evergreen Lake. That was where I had grown up. That was what I knew. So I know a lot about Evergreen the way it was back in the 70s. And it's funny because in the book, I reference a few things that were actually the way that Evergreen was back in the 70s.
I mean, it's very, very personal to you. This is a very personal story, somewhere you grew up, you ended up moving to. I mean, in your book, the mystery begins when a high school janitor is found dead in a quarterback's locker. Not only your love of the lake, your hours of the lake, but also your love of sports seems to come through in your writing. Was this a match made for mystery?
Yes, I would say so, because I have three used to be red-haired grandsons. They've all since gone to blonde. But my youngest grandson started playing football when he was 4. My daughter and son-in-law found a league that would actually take kids when they were 4. And so my son-in-law coached at least 2 boys for 15 years. I have also always been a huge sports fan. When I was growing up, I was literally either outside kicking, throwing, hitting a ball of some sort, or reading a book. And once I discovered football, which was in the summer of 1974, I mean, I have just been like a football fanatic. And one of the other things that might be in particular about the mystery at Evergreen Lake, is that I incorporated a lot of real football facts, perhaps most specifically about the Broncos, but also like my son now lives in Wyoming, so I put some little football facts about Wyoming in there, such as the fact that Josh Allen, who now plays for the Buffalo Bills, went to the University of Wyoming. So there's a lot of fun football facts and football lore in the book. Um, and there's lots of food. I talk about this fabulous Thanksgiving spread. And the boys get themselves into trouble with their next door neighbors.
Everyone in Colorado can relate to being a football fan. I bet those folks enjoy reading your book. I mean, obviously, in the book, mayhem erupts in Evergreen. All eyes turn to a small group of siblings who are known for their pranks. But not always are suspects guilty. Is that right?
Well, in this case, I don't want to give it away, but the
Yep.
the 3 brothers were definitely charged with the murder of the high school janitor. That their parents, their dad is the most prominent sports agent west of the Mississippi. Their mother and grandmother are famous authors of all things, if you can imagine that. And so the boys were born into wealth and privilege. And so, that made for huge headlines when the boys were charged with murder.
Everybody loves a mystery plot like that where they almost want somebody to be guilty. I mean, this involves a championship game, friends and family, a group of boys trying to clear their names, and plenty of food and appetites, like you say. I mean, this is a fast paced read, would you say?
Oh, Absolutely. And I wrote it specifically a number of bigger words, fun words in the book. And I kind of did that for a specific reason. And I kind of feel like just based upon what I was getting from what my grandsons were saying when they going through school, that reading is getting kind of lost, the general state of affairs.
It seems you did some real intentional things in the book. Everything from using classic examples of what people in Evergreen would understand, understanding what sports enthusiasts would do. Definitely some intentional things you did. I mean, this is your debut young adult novel. This lighthearted mystery proves that dreams don't have an expiration date. What has been some of the feedback from folks that have read it?
Mostly just that it's fun and that it is lighthearted. This book has no redeeming value whatsoever. There are no lessons. It's just laughs, purely meant to be entertaining. I wanted it to be something that young adults certainly could enjoy, but I also wanted it to be something that parents could enjoy.
Something you could read to your child as well. Kind of a cool book like that. I mean, you believe that reading is the foundation for a fabulous life. As the founder of Highland Publishing House, how do you hope to support fellow authors?
So basically, the way that I do that is through my editing business. As I said, I've been editing for 19 years. And so the best that I can do for other authors is to just give them the benefit of my years of experience in editing to make sure that they publish a manuscript that is as pristine as it can possibly be.
This independent publishing house is devoted to telling stories written for women by women. Has any of your own extended family followed in your footsteps for your love of writing?
Gary, that I would say is yet to be seen. I will tell you a quick, short, funny story. When my son was 16, I graduated from college when I was 40. And when my son was 16, I came home from work or school one day and he was sitting at the computer and I walked in and he said, "I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I'm bored." And I said, "Honey, read a book. Reading is fun." And he said to me, "Reading is stupid. Who would ever want to read a book? Reading is stupid." Well, fast forward 25 years, and my son is now the proud possessor of a master's degree in philosophy, of all things. And I can promise you that at some point he discovered his own love of reading. He has more books. He has an entire wall in his living room devoted to books. That child has more books than a library. And my daughter has also always been a voracious reader. At least at this point, none of my so I have the three grandsons and then I have two granddaughters. And at least at this point, none of them has shown necessarily an interest in writing a book, but I do know that they love to read.
But you never know. Fast forward down the years, they became readers themselves, possibly even writers, because like your son said, reading is stupid. And obviously now he has a wall full of books that he reads. That's exciting. Paulette, your passion for reading and ultimately writing began perhaps up in a tree in your own backyard. Is this rewarding work for you to write and support others in providing great stories?
Gary, I have had writing and editing is like my third career. I started in retail when my kids were little. And then when I was in college, I was a paralegal for 14 years. And I didn't really discover that editing books and writing could be a career for me until well into my life. But it has been the most rewarding career that I could ever imagine. And I cannot feature myself doing anything else. I have loved this career more than anything else in my entire life. I will never give it up. I think that, I'll still be editing books or writing books when I'm 112 and I can press one finger on the computer keyboard.
Inspiring story. I think folks out there can relate with that, especially readers out there, maybe people who have never read before. Very inspiring. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is our website. On the website, you can purchase this mystery book and other works of some women authors who basically provide stories for women who really know what they want. Once again, that is The Mystery at Evergreen Lake by Granny K. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.